What's some basic knowledge that a scary amount of people don't know? Don't dive in the water to save a drowning person. They will kill you. Throw them a flotation device. Hand them a broomstick and pull them to safety. Do not get in the water with a panicking person. Wait until they are unconscious and then dive in to retrieve them. Source: years of swim lessons and unfortunately knowing somebody who has died trying to rescue somebody. Will give the same end-stage liver disease and damage. For a medication that is widely recognized as well tolerated and therefore safe, it sorta kinda ain't that. Overdosing on Tylenol, acetaminophen/paracetamol, in large enough doses will prove fatal. The death is slow, painful and cruel, and there's nothing that can be done about it save for a liver transplant, which, good luck with that. Edit: several commenters have correctly pointed out that if treated quickly enough, there is an antidote for this poisoning, and there can be a full recovery. When I wrote nothing can be done, I was referring to the point in time when end-stage liver damage and failure have occurred. Edit 2, many commenters now querying what constitutes a large enough dose. With the caveat that mileage may vary with age, other medications, alcohol, existing liver damage. 12 grams of Tylenol as a single dose, or 24 by 500 milligrams tablets if you prefer, left without medical attention, is potentially fatal. Effects are cumulative, so frequent, smaller overdoses over a longer TME frame. Don't put water on a grease fire. This is when your pan/pot catches fire while cooking. Cover it with the pot or pan lid and turn off the heat. Edit: people in the replies have also added that baking soda and salt can work to smother the fire. Additionally, a grease fire safe extinguisher is a good thing to have in your kitchen. Oh Jesus, this. All these idiots demanding antibiotics for the most minor sniffle, and the spineless doctors prescribing them, are literally creating superbugs, making everything worse for everyone. Antibiotic resistance is real, peeps. Edit: for the folks who keeping saying but if viruses aren't affected by antibiotics, then how can this possibly create superbugs? Simple, it's not the viruses, they aren't affected by antibiotics, it's the bacteria that we naturally have in our bodies that actually acquires the resistance first. When we have natural antibiotic-resistant bacteria in our body, bad bacteria is able to acquire this same resistance from our natural bacteria, thus creating superbugs. The point is still the same though, unnecessarily taking antibiotics for viruses triggers the process that leads to superbug creation via antibiotic resistance. You'd love my mother-in-law? She gets them for a cold? Takes half a pack and then saves the rest for later. Even offers them out to us when we're sick. We don't take them OFC. She has a whole lunchbox of old random antibiotics up in her cupboard. I've tried to tell her multiple times she's doing it wrong, but WTF would I know? I only worked in pharmacy for 6 years. Edit: I didn't think this would get so much attention. I throw out dangerous expired meds, I don't want her to die. This was years ago. She has gotten better. Probably sick of my nagging, 17 years later. Tax brackets. You only pay the higher rate on the portion above the threshold amount. Edit: great example video here. This drives me fucking crazy. I work in manufacturing and make enough that we're right below the threshold for the next tax bracket. So many of my co-workers refuse to take overtime only because they think they'll actually make less money on their paycheck than if they didn't. My mom will always use meat before the date on the package and refuse to use meat even one day after. It's infuriating. I've had too many conversations that go, man, this bacon doesn't taste right. Yeah, I know, it smelled funky in the package, too. Then why did you cook it? It doesn't expire until tomorrow. That pretty much every machine requires maintenance. Think dishwashers, washing machines, cars, mowers, etc. They aren't magic boxes. And they will last longer if you know how to maintain them. My mother-in-law is in her 80s and until recently didn't know that the dishwasher needs its filters cleaning every so often. Edit, since this blew up a bit, for those that would like to locate their dishwasher's filters, they're different for every make and model. You do well to Google the make and model of the unit and see if you can find a manual. Maybe even YouTube will have some information. YouTube is a great resource for learning about things. Taking my dishwasher as an example, there are some reasonably obvious plastic pieces in the bottom of the washing area that can be slid out/unscrewed. There are 3 parts to my filter. Rubber gloves when touching them might be a good idea. Cleaning them is as simple as taking a brush and some soapy water to them to remove all the gunk before reinstalling. You can also buy a plastic bottle full of chemicals that you put into the dishwasher. You run a cycle and the chemicals clean throughout the unit. I do both because I like a clean dishwasher. I do it every month or so, or whenever I notice that dishes aren't getting as clean as they should or some not clean smell. Edit, thanks for the awards. Now clean your dishwashers. And computers. A scary number of people seem to think it's all about software wrapped in magic. They just can imagine mechanical, electrical issues, not even heating. I was trying to debug a problem with my dad's ancient desktop computer and it sounded like a fan was burnt out or something. He then went on to say the dumbest thing I've ever heard, I don't understand how a computer can break when there aren't any moving parts. He's not even mechanically dumb. He built houses and fixes his own car, but computers are just a mysterious black box of witchcraft, that he refuses to understand lol. Drowning doesn't usually look like drowning on TV. 9/10, it's just silent. The person goes under and doesn't come back up. And choking doesn't look like choking as seen on TV either. If there's any hacking, coughing. They aren't choking and don't need a Heimlich maneuver. You only use the Heimlich if there's no sound coming out of their mouth. Years and years ago I read a book that took place in Australia. I'm in the USA. In the book it was Christmas time, and also summer time because that's how it works. The narrator described Christmas decorations that were snow-themed, Santa still in his red suit, etc. and I thought it was interesting that the decorations were still winter-themed even though it was summer. This book is my only source for this information so I don't even know if this is really the case. Anyway, I went around to like 5 to 6 people at work trying to tell them that I found this info mildly interesting, and I always started with you know how December is summer in Australia. And literally not one person knew that. Like, everyone was confused about it. I felt like I was taking crazy pills because I thought that was common knowledge. Unsolicited advice is generally going to be taken as criticism. Criticizing the people in your personal life creates distance. Butting in where you aren't wanted is going to harm your relationships with other people, and they're going to take your opinions and advice less seriously over time because they'll think of you as a newbie know-it-all. Overbearing people get tuned out. Instead, first ask yourself if your advice is even needed. Does this affect you? Is this an emergency? Is anyone going to be harmed if you don't put your oar in? Are you being asked for advice? Or is this person just sharing information about their day and building their relationship with you? And if you do need to weigh in, try leading with, "May I make a suggestion?" Otherwise, you're going to rile the other person up. And on the flip side, If you have a new know-it-all in your life, it's best to simply pause them with a calm and polite, "Thanks, but I didn't ask." If you try to explain your life to them, they see it as an invitation to be even more overbearing. First aid and CPR. And the fact that CPR is only to keep the blood circulating. It must be done rapidly. And ribs must break. Keep it up till paramedics arrive, even if it take 20 minutes or 1 hour. Person may not cough back to life. You are just making sure the brain is not left without blood. Be open-minded and fight against confirmation bias. Avoid predictive searching so you don't get trapped in an echo chamber. Obligatory thanks for the upvotes. Be smart y'all. How to check if a source is credible. Misinformation is straight up killing people. Edit, how to actually check if a source is credible. Identify the author and check their credentials. Also, see who their employer is, and consider how it might impact their biases. Compare headlines to the actual content of the article. Is it intentionally misleading to provoke an emotional response? Think about whether it's done to intentionally misdirect people. Check the date the article was published. When it was released could change if the information is outdated. Fact-check the story by using websites like factcheck.org. Dig deep to see if the news article cites sources and traceable quotes. Check if the URL has any misspellings or odd use of language. Important things to remember. Always consult multiple sources. Social media is not a reliable source. Looking at you, Facebook? That the scientific meaning of theory isn't what the colloquial sense means. More generally, there are a lot of terms that mean one specific thing within a certain field or industry that mean something completely different when talked about in a different field or just in the general population. Edit, when I wrote this comment I was mainly thinking about innocent examples like how non-IT people sometimes refer to their computers as a CPU. It's pretty cool that everyone has taken this and given much more important examples and discussion. If anyone cares and didn't already know, in technical terms a CPU refers to the main chip inside your computer responsible for most of the general purpose processing. This. As a previous pharmacy tech and now a receptionist at a pediatrics office, it infuriates me when parents insist on the doctors prescribing antibiotics for literally anything. They think it's a catch-all or something. I'm a pharmacist and I had to take my son to his pediatrician for some non-specific symptoms and she described him as viral and then proceeded to tell me she was prescribing a 10-day course of Cefdinir. I asked if she thought he had a bacterial infection as well and she said no. I asked why he needed the antibiotic then and she said most parents demand it. I said I was a pharmacist and that didn't make a whole lot of sense. She looked super embarrassed and mumbled that she was cancelling the prescription. She was super rude the rest of the visit. I thought she would be happy that a parent had some good sense about it for once. As you are if they're even willing to see you in the first place. And yet people get scammed into thinking they are a cute equivalent to hamsters or something. As someone who rescues animals, it's often appalling how little effort people put into caring for their pets in general, how little they understand the needs of the animal, but owning exotics is like the epitome of ignoring reality. With the corollary of wild animals are not good pets. Not just things like lions and tigers, as made infamous by bad reality TV as well as Sigmund and Roy, but there are several other exotic animals that just do not make good pets. I have a friend who kind of stumbled into rescuing sugar gliders from people who thought they were cute and were woefully unprepared to care for them. They require enormous amounts of effort, fresh organic food in specific quantities, a huge variety in their diet, everything from fruit to almonds to mealworms in balanced quantities. They are truly nocturnal, which means they don't like being bothered during the day, they don't particularly like being touched or handled, and they literally scream at night. As an added bonus, vets don't really have a lot of experience with them, so if and when something happens, the vet is just as likely to be as confused. Cops can lie to you. Cops are also not obligated to read you your Miranda rights upon arrest unless they're going to interview you, which they usually won't when they're on scene. However, that doesn't mean they won't use anything you say still against you. So keep your damn mouth shut when dealing with cops. Wait until you have a lawyer present. How vaccines work. If they make you sick, it's because they're working. Your body is mounting a defense and creating antibodies to help fight off infection. A lot of really smart scientists have devoted their entire lives to keep us safe against life-threatening infection, and people who have no medical training refuse them. It seems pretty idiotic and cavalier to me. That women can become pregnant after unprotected sex seems to surprise a lot of people. I want to share an anecdote of my last encounter. We were ready, so I said, "I'll be right back," to which she replied, "Where are you going?" I said, "To get a condom," and she said, "Why?" Now, I took that why to mean something like, "You don't need one, it's okay. I'm on the pill," or whatever, to mean that there was no reason or need to wear a condom or any risk in not wearing one. I trusted her in that moment, and in the heat of it, went okay and dived straight in. Which is something I have never done before. Afterwards I said to her that I felt bad about not wearing one. That I said to myself I would never have sex without a condom to avoid unnecessary complications. And she said, "What complications?" To which I replied like, "I dunno, you getting pregnant," and her literal response was, "Me pregnant? Smiley face, I can't get pregnant, I'm 36. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And promptly got in a morning after pill, which resulted in no unwanted pregnancy one way or another. Like seriously, I feel like I don't even need to explain how dumb it is that a 36-year-old woman didn't know she is still capable of getting pregnant. It is very easy to not block the whole aisle with your cart at the grocery store. Man, just spatial awareness in general. It takes an awesome amount of dismissal for me not to let it bother me, say on a crowded street or in a train car. Mfas, there is a whole third of a car where no one is standing, yet you cluster around strangers at one end. Like being in a gaggle of your associates, while still annoying, is one thing. But mindless clogging of a public space really boggles and infuriates me. Evidence-based reasoning, and what evidence means. Also peer-reviewed articles and journals. People seem to think peer-reviewed means a classmate read it and helped fix grammar mistakes. And others seem to think that a study has found basically means it is a 100% irrefutable fact, when that is very often not the case. I generally view individual studies as BS. Only if there are many studies all showing the same effect do I believe it. There are just too many statistical effects and incentives pushing people to publish junk science. How to spot an obvious scam. Look how many people fall for those clickbait articles and chain posts and propaganda and stuff. I'm constantly surprised by how many people don't seem to have any kind of bullshit detector. My husband is generally full of shit but believes all the shit others say. It's bizarre. He clicks on all the clickbait. He just clicks and clicks. That's his whole evening. I've noticed that people who do sales professionally are very cynical about salespeople. They say, "How do you know when a salesman is lying?" His lips are moving. Then, when they hear a good sales pitch, they look like a child on Christmas Eve hearing a bedtime story about Santa Claus. Basic computer knowledge. If you don't even know how to extract a zip file, you better leave this job. It's fine not to know how to extract a zip file. It's not fine not to know how to Google how to extract a zip file. Almost all of humanity's knowledge about daily topics is right there, at your fingertips. You just have to access it. And still, lots of people seem to prefer helplessness.